In the fall of 1774 and winter of 1775, I was one of upwards of 30, chiefly mechanics, who formed ourselves into a committee for the purpose of watching the movements of the British soldiers and gaining every intelligence of the movements of the Tories. In the winter, towards the spring, we frequently took turns, 2 and 2, to watch the soldiers, by patrolling the streets all night. The Saturday night preceding the 19th of April, about 12 o'clock at night, the boats belonging to the transports were all launched and carried under the sterns of the men of war. We likewise found that the grenadiers and light infantry were all taken off duty. From these movements, we expected something serious was being transacted. On Tuesday evening, the 18th, it was observed that a number of soldiers were marching toward the bottom of the common. About 10 o'clock, Dr. Warren sent in great haste for me and begged that I would immediately set off for Lexington, where Messrs. Hancock and Adams were, and acquaint them of the movement, and that it was thought they were the objects. The Sunday before, by desire of Dr. Warren, I had been to Lexington, to Messrs. Hancock and Adams, who were at the Reverend Mr. Clark's. I returned at night through Charlestown. There I agreed with Colonel Conant and some other gentlemen that if the British went out by water, we would show 2 lanterns in the North Church steeple, and if by land, 1 as a signal, for we were apprehensive it would be difficult to cross the Charles River or get over Boston Neck. I left Dr. Warren's, called upon a friend, and desired him to make the signals. I then went home, took my boots and surtout, and went to the north part of the town, where I had kept a boat. 2 friends rowed me across Charles River, a little to the eastward, where the Somerset man of war lay. It was then young flood, the ship was winding, and the moon was rising. They landed me on Charlestown side. When I got into town, I met Colonel Conant and several others. They said they had seen our signals. Richard Devens, Esquire, who was one of the Committee of Safety, came to me and told me that he came down the road from Lexington after sundown that evening, that he met 10 British officers, all well mounted and armed, going up the road. I set off upon a very good horse. It was then about 11 o'clock and very pleasant. After I had passed Charlestown Neck, I saw 2 men on horseback under a tree. When I got near them, I discovered they were British officers. One tried to get ahead of me, the other to take me. I turned my horse very quickly and galloped towards Charlestown Neck, and then pushed for the Medford road. The one who chased me, endeavoring to cut me off, got into a clay pond near where the new tavern is now built. I got clear of him and went through Medford, over the bridge, and up to Minutemen. In Medford, I awaked the captain of the minutemen, and after that I alarmed almost every house till I got to Lexington. I found Messrs. Hancock and Adams at the Reverend Mr. Clark's. I told them my errand and inquired for Mr. Dawes. They said he had not been there. I related the story of the 2 officers and supposed that he must have been stopped, as he ought to have been there before me. After I had been there about half an hour, Mr. Dawes came. After, we refreshed ourselves, and we set off for Concord to secure the stores, etc., there. We were overtaken by a young Dr. Prescott, whom we found to be a high son of liberty. I told them of the 10 officers that Mr. Devens met, and that it was probable we might be stopped before we got to Concord, for I supposed that, after night, they divided themselves, and that 2 of them had fixed themselves in such passages as were most likely to stop any intelligence going to Concord. I likewise mentioned that we had better alarm all the inhabitants till we got to Concord. The young doctor much approved of it, and said he would stop with either of us, for the people between that and Concord knew him, and would give the more credit to what we said. We had got nearly halfway. Mr. Dawes and the doctor stopped to alarm the people of a house. I was about 100 rod ahead when I saw 2 men in nearly the same situation as those officers were near Charlestown. In an instant I was surrounded by 4. They had placed themselves in a straight road that inclined each way. They had taken down a pair of bars on the north side of the road, and 2 of them were under a tree in the pasture. The doctor being foremost, he came up, and we tried to get past them, but they being armed with pistols and swords, they forced us into the pasture. The doctor jumped his horse over a low stone wall and got to Concord. I observed a wood at a small distance and made for that. When I got there, out started 6 officers on horseback and ordered me to dismount. One of them, who appeared to have the command, examined me, where I came from, and what my name was. I told him it was Revere. He asked if it was Paul. I told him yes. He asked me if I was an express. I answered in the affirmative. He demanded what time I left Boston. I told him, and added that their troops had catched ground in passing the river, and there would be 500 Americans there in a short time, for I had alarmed the country all the way up. He immediately rode towards those who stopped us, when all 5 of them came down upon a full gallop. One of them, whom I afterwards found to be Major Mitchell of the 5th Regiment, clapped his pistol to my head, called me by name, and told me he was going to ask me some questions, and if I did not give him true answers, he would blow my brains out. He then asked me similar questions to those above. He then ordered me to mount my horse, after searching me for arms. He then ordered them to advance and to lead me in front. When we got to the road, they turned down towards Lexington. When we had got about 1 mile, the major rode up to the officer that was leading me and told him to give me to the sergeant. As soon as he took me, the major ordered him, if I attempted to run or anybody insulted them, to blow my brains out. We rode till we got near Lexington Meeting House, when the militia fired a volley of guns, which appeared to alarm them very much. The major inquired of me how far it was to Cambridge, and if there were any other road. After some consultation, the major rode up to the sergeant and asked if his horse was tired. He answered him he was. He was a sergeant of grenadiers and had a small horse. Then said he, "Take that man's horse." I dismounted, and the sergeant mounted my horse when they all rode towards Lexington Meeting House. I went across the burying ground and some pastures, and came to the Reverend Mr. Clark's house, where I found Messrs. Hancock and Adams. I told them of my treatment, and they concluded to go from that house towards Woburn. I went with them and a Mr. Lowell, who was a clerk to Mr. Hancock. When we got to the house where they intended to stop, Mr. Lowell and I myself returned to Mr. Clark's to find what was going on. When we got there, an elderly man came in. He said he had just come from the tavern, that a man had come from Boston who said there were no British troops coming. Mr. Lowell and myself went towards the tavern when we met a man on a full gallop who told us the troops were coming up the rocks. We afterwards met another who said they were close by. Mr. Lowell asked me to go to the tavern with him to retrieve a trunk of papers belonging to Mr. Hancock. We went up chamber, and while we were getting the trunk, we saw the British very near, upon a full march. We hurried toward Mr. Clark's house. In our way, we passed through the militia. There were about 50. When we had got about 100 yards from the meeting house, the British troops appeared on both sides of the meeting house. In their front was an officer on horseback. They made a short halt, when I saw and heard a gun fired, which appeared to be a pistol. Then I could distinguish 2 guns, then a continual roar of musketry when we made off with the trunk.